Okay. Again, welcome to the fifth wave Global Blockchain Hackathon. So as technology begins to work with us, we can kick this off. Please do use the chat. Remain muted just for background noise. But if you have a question, please do utilize the chat or raise your hand, and we're happy to engage you at any point. It will be recorded, so you will have access to it, as well as the panel discussion yesterday. If you were not able to attend, it was dynamic. The speakers were incredible. They laid down a very thorough foundation to blockchain, and they focused also on bringing out various scenarios for our problem that you all will be solving. So thank you again for attending. So let's get started. So what to expect in this blockchain boot camp? We will break it up into sessions. I will give you a break in between. It's a lot of rich learning. So it will be an opportunity to lay down the fundamentals of blockchain. We're going to explore various applications, really diving in deep into what exactly is blockchain and how those are applied. We'll go into use cases. I'll introduce them in the first session, and then we will talk about design applications. And then in the second session, after our break, we'll take in a deeper dive to truly understand how to break down what is needed to bring in those aspects, the data, the information, the indicators that will be needed for your hack. And then we'll talk about innovation challenge, which will look also into deeper dives, more case study. I have several case studies. We will have a total of about 4 or 5 case studies today that you will get examples of how to use blockchain, and you'll recognize some of them, and some of them you would say, really, I didn't realize blockchain was used for that. And then you'll create your own blockchain. So I posed questions for you so you can begin to think about how to actually develop your blockchain. And then we'll go into our breakout rooms, which is part of the validation of the blockchain. You'll learn more about the process. The validation gives us the opportunity to actually reiterate, to rethink, and to get feedback from others about what our design is, or what our product or our service is. And then we'll talk about next steps, which is tomorrow, the actual hackathon. Okay, are there any questions? Feel free to unmute. Okay, so our first session, session 1 objectives, are to focus, as I mentioned, on the fundamentals to understand the actual tracking of the blockchain origin. So I'll give you a little history also, and then to think about why is it important? And then we can talk about why not. And also I want this to be engaging. It is, I said facilitator, not lecturer. So please do chime in, ask questions, challenge me to respond to some of your curiosity, and that exchange will be very dynamic, and much appreciated. Does blockchain actually add value to the world? Some of these questions I'd like for you to think about, and then learn about how blockchain application is used, and then the introduction to the use case. So let's get started. Blockchain is a peer distribution ledger system. It's an opportunity to actually secure the information that is being transmitted between a business and an individual, or 2 individuals, or business to business. It gives us an opportunity to utilize the World Wide Web to the capacity of what it should be utilized, not just in text or emails, if you will, but to actually use the algorithms and the platforms that are established in transactions that can be carried out. Now, this particular hackathon, we will be talking about what I see as financial literacy. I think it's very, very important that we truly understand the novel solutions to the age-old human problem of trust. And to think about, because people talk about, they don't want to talk about money. And those are things and aspects that a lot of people may feel uncomfortable. But with blockchain, it gives us another opportunity to really think about how we can trust someone to do business with, or how we can purchase a product from a particular vendor or a resource. These ledgers actually contain information that can be updated on a regular basis without someone getting behind the computer and actually physically updating the information. We'll talk more about that. And also, what is critical is that gathering of that information, the database that forms the network for individuals to actually build this blockchain. Are there any questions? Okay, so what blockchain is not? Automatically, people think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, it's all about the money. But indeed, blockchain isn't. It is about, again, that transaction, that understanding of these accounting ledgers of where money is moving and who is moving to and from. It's not about increasing the stock value for a particular company, nor is it about the internet. And is it a fad? Some people thought it was a fad, but so they also thought the internet was a fad too, and the World Wide Web was not real. So I don't think it's going away. I believe very strongly that we need to understand what blockchain is, whether we want to use it in our education or in our business or in our careers. This is an opportunity for us to launch into it and to adapt into the learning process of what is blockchain and to understand it. Because if we don't understand technology, it will be done to us. Well, why not engage in it? So that's why we're going to focus on that today. And we're going to bring in the ideas of the financial understanding. It is not definitely financial investment. So I want you to keep in mind that it's a process. There's two sides of blockchain. I like to say it's one or the other, X and Y. One side is really looking at this cryptocurrency, this money transfer that no one understands the value, right? And that's why there was so much concern and lack of the adoption of blockchain and cryptocurrency because of the unknowns. However, what you see now is that there truly is another side. And that other side really addresses the business, the understanding of the foundational fundamentals of what is blockchain. So that's why we're going to plant and focus. And I thought it was so important. And I've taught blockchain several times. So it's very, very important that whomever has the curiosity and wants to adapt and adopt in the actual technology, that you understand that there's that strong business component. And I get energized because of the intersection between business and technology. That's what has built my curiosity around blockchain. Okay. So just a bit of history about blockchain. Very, very interesting. It's over 20 years old, which is quite phenomenal. A lot of people didn't realize it was that old. It was started back in the 1990s. And why it was started, it was based upon the idea of exchange and understanding how information can be conveyed. Then automatically, it went into, I have to, and the key names are here. So do look them up. They're incredible people that had a vision about thinking big and innovation and using the internet and what the World Wide Web can actually do as an integral part, a good adding value to our life beyond sending letters and that sort of thing, and how financial systems could actually be engaged. So then it moved into Bitcoin in the mid 2000s. And that's when people really began to find, build their curiosity and really wanted to know, what is this blockchain? Anytime it has to do with money, people are really wanting to engage more. So there were more transactions around 2012 where Bitcoin actually took a very prominent position, looking at billions of dollars. And it was a phenomenon that went around the world. Then there was the opportunity to actually create various types of cryptocurrency into 2014 and into 2016. And here we are now, where we're looking at various applications of EOS and how the decentralization of these applications can actually benefit us as a people, as a society. So now we're thinking more about, what are these applications? How can it be utilized in various ways that could be productive and engage in our quality of life? Just a little bit of history. So let's take a poll here. So I'd like for you to open a window on Mentimeter. And there's a QR code. So if you'd like to use the QR code, please feel free to do so. And the question is, what is blockchain? So let me provide that code for you. If you didn't pick it up, I'll add it to the chat. Hop on Mentimeter. And I believe you do need the actual passcode, which is 6862 4358. Okay, so I'm seeing the screen populated. What is blockchain? We have virtual collaboration. We have democracy online. We have smart. We have, oh, interesting, flexible, virtual collaboration, information. Great. Records, decentralization, revolutionary. I like that innovative word. Trust, yes. Virtual currency, security. Security is really big. Great. Any other comments? Okay. Great response. Thank you so much. So as we think about blockchain and how we can actually, the elements of blockchain and how we can engage blockchain in our technology, keep in mind that blockchain is a technology. It is not a standalone. So it is to add a layer onto the technology that you are building, the internet, for instance. So we are to use blockchain within another technology. So here's some criteria here, very critical. So in our business networks, assets as well as transactions, that is one foundation of blockchain that it can be utilized. Multiple participants, as well as to verify these transactions, right? You'll see how that mechanism comes into form. I'll talk more about that shortly. To know who does what and when, that's where the transparency is. And then to think about the trust of that the transactions that actually take place. As you see here is indicated by a black box and a lock to say that the information is locked and entrusted within that box. And then a single view of truth. So if you had a blockchain, you would be able to view your information knowing that it is valid, current, and it addresses your particular curiosity of where your information is that you're actually moving. Keep in mind, it's not always about currency. It's about data. It's about information. And information is the foundation of data. You can't have data without information. What happens is that the information actually becomes of value when it's curated and brought together to have meaning, where you can analyze or you can explain, you can tell your business how much better it can do. Or if there is an opportunity for you to engage in either, say for instance, even a classroom dynamic, or you're making dinner for your family, I always use that example. It's an opportunity where individuals come together to actually be able to say, I have the bird's eye view. I know the information around me is true, and I know it's timely. So keep these criteria in mind. Okay? So thinking about these key concepts of blockchain for business, because we are a no-hack hackathon. We are not looking at the algorithms or the hash. That'll be for our next hackathon. But again, we're laying down this foundation of really solid understanding about the financial literacy of blockchain. So these shared ledgers are actually part of a distribution system. They actually record information across the business network. There are permissions that are granted with each transaction, where they're visible, they're secure, they know everyone that is in the actual chain has a clear understanding and can grant permission or not. Another point here, let's talk about this a bit. When you actually are online and you're purchasing a particular product, you don't even have to purchase. We're just gonna say we're gonna log on. And we actually see a pop-up that says, well, if you'd like more information, please do provide your email, your name, and your email here. Sometimes they'll even ask for a phone number. So that's an opportunity where you say, yes, I give permission, or no, I do not. In some cases, you can't move further if you do not give permission. In other cases, where you can move further is you may opt out. So this is a very clear example of granting permission to utilize your information into their database. Smart contracts. So this is where actual business terms are embedded in these transactions. So the understanding of percentages and ownership is part of this space where everyone knows what position they have, what leverage they have, what they are contributing, and what they are to actually gain from the actual engagement. This can be a contract with you and your employer, or you and your university. You sign at a university, you'll sign off and you'll say, yes, I am an honorable student, therefore I will not plagiarize. In the instance of an employer, you're signing off and you're saying, yes, indeed, I will work for you for this amount of money and I will take these holidays, right? Or in some cases, if you are going into entrepreneurship, there are various levels of contracts, but they're inclusive of being a smart contract, whereby you are saying you have ownership of a certain product, you have ownership of joint work, you have, and vice versa. So there's a true understanding at that point of who has what within the transaction. Now let's look at consensus. This is the sweet spot. I love this. This is where all parties actually agree in the network to actually go through with the transaction. It's a verification. Everyone is saying it's okay. This is good. I agree. And that's where blockchain, I believe, takes us to a higher level in doing business, creating product, and actually addressing and meeting social needs, because we're all in agreement. We think about who may need something that we have access to, or who may need something or some product or some service that they may need. Because we begin to have an understanding of what that individual's needs are. We build empathy for that. And then we can go through and actually define what that is with that person, because that's part of the consensus, the coming together of all parties. And then you can build the product or provide the resource. So here we have different types of consensus algorithms. I did want to bring in just a little bit of coding here, but algorithms do not only include coding. Algorithms are the system in which, in this case, we're building consensus. It is not necessarily coding, but it can be, especially when we get into building out the hash, building out the code for blockchain. But to keep it centered and to think about this business track of a no-code hackathon, we're looking at algorithms from the idea of coming together around various aspects. So we have proof of burnout. We have proof of capacity. You have the opportunity of actually understanding how and why people work the way they do. You have an interest or an understanding of various activities. I've highlighted some very key areas here that models are built around and looking at consensus. So you're coming into agreement, consensus. That's within the group. And then we're thinking about the collaboration. In some instances, we may use Agile Scrum to come up with our collaboration, to actually begin to prioritize what is the most important, and then to work together as one unit to solve a problem or a situation. And then we have cooperation, where everyone is actually working on the team. And then you have that you put aside your particular interests and you really focus on the mission of the organization or the mission of the team. You're driving forward to actually build that consensus, right? And then we have equal rights, which I think is amazing. especially to look at equity, diversity, and inclusion. We can think about what that means from the perspective of a single participant and how that would, again, bring that empathy into fold, how that would impact a particular individual, what it means for that person, and also include their value and the importance of their vote, the importance of what they bring to the table. Okay, participation in particular is thinking about the network and how we can actually build our ecosystem. And as we started off our session today in breakout rooms, we had an opportunity, hopefully, to say good day to everyone and to actually begin to exchange who you are, where you're from, what your particular interests are. I did go around to the rooms and just greet you, but hopefully you got to ask one or two questions of one another and find out that you can actually build out your ecosystem here at the Global Fifth Wave Hackathon. And then looking at activities. Every member of the group equally is active. This is very, very important, especially with the hackathon. You want to engage as many people as possible. So everyone has their buy-in, everyone has their fair share into the activity and engagement. Everyone is curious, so we can fulfill their curiosity. So here we are. We're using ledgers. There's distribution ledgers. These particular ledgers, this business side of blockchain, is really examining how the accounting is understood. Looking at the organization and understanding those transactions within the organization to encompass all of the data. And here on the second bullet, I actually dove in a bit deeper to think about the balance sheet, the financial reports, and how, as an example, how those elements of the business are actually conveying the transactions of how well the business is doing, how they're engaged with their customers. Whether their customer, I don't know if you've bought things on repeat buy through Amazon or some other website. So every 30 days, it depends upon how you set up your account, but every 30 days I get dog food. They send or I get medication for my dog. So that shows that particular vendor that I am an engaged client. They can see that I'm a repeat offender, if you will, a repeat purchaser. And what does that mean to a business? Good question. That means that that particular business can go back to me and push out, well, if you buy a little more, then you get free shipping. Or next time you purchase something, it's always the next time, we'll give you 10% or 20% and free shipping because you're a loyal customer. So this really does have a great impact on the business as well as the customer. Meanwhile, you have created a summary of transactions that are taking place. And that allows for you to actually understand the balance and for the reporting for that particular business. These are called business insights. That adds to our business intelligence of how we actually conduct business. Now, if we're looking at developing an app, let's take technology, for instance. How does this play into fold? Very much of the same way. Because when you're developing technology, you want to make sure that it's going to be used. Long gone are the days of just putting out products and not really understanding what the need is of the customer. You need to know what the customer's desires are. You need to know who the customer is, also called personas, and understanding what that customer looks like. Looking at that target market from the perspective of, What product or service will be, bought by them? What product or service would be utilized in such a way that they can be a repeat offender? They can repurchase, or as you build out your particular application, that you can add on information that they can purchase, right? And that builds out your account. The customer sees it, they know their value, the actual vendor sees it, they see their value as well through these financial transactions, and everyone has a very transparent picture. Is everyone tracking me thus far? Okay, it's awfully quiet. If there are any questions, please slow me down or ask a question. Okay, so here, I just want to give it another, bringing it home a bit more about building the blockchain now. We know foundationally what the blockchain is, and we have an understanding of those attributes that make the blockchain, the data. And those data, you want a guideline as far as indicators are concerned. It's not just any information, because again, you're curating that information, you're gathering certain information that becomes your database. That's where your value is. So now we're going to build the actual blockchain. So, and I so intricately put blocks around these ledgers. In business, if you've never taken a business class, back in the day, I'll share with you how I learned accounting was to actually write it out on a grid sheet. And we would have to label each header with exactly if it's account payable, accounts receivable, who they were, that would go down the side. And we had to identify in actual blocks information. So here is indicated where the ledger is actually identifying these transactions that you are having in an actual block. Each ledger is its own block. So each transaction with each customer is its own block. You can have multiple customers on that same ledger, but it's for one product or for one service or one type of transaction. So as we think about how the blocks actually connect, I wanted you to see physically how they actually come together. These transactions are actually blocked together to create a chain. And within these chains, there are hubs that actually secure these blocks. Within these blocks, you have, of course, your personal ID. I don't know if you have a computer that you just use your fingerprint, or if you have a system that also a device that you can move your screen by touch, or if you have a second validation on your websites and other browsing destinations, URLs that you go under. Or, of course, we all have our passcodes. So all of these are part of that block. It allows for us to secure that information that is in that ledger. Okay? Just a few more examples. So here we have our decentralization of the actual ledger. I wanted you to get another pictorial to understand how you're moving around the actual ledger. And here we have our checklist of whether or not it's validated, if it's viewed of trust, that means if it's trusted, and if it's distributive, whether or not it can be distributive to another partner or someone else, whether that be a vendor or someone else in another chain. Okay, so here is the chain of transaction. So if Alice is contributing to the new transaction, here's Alice here. She has her own, what? Ledger. Okay? Everyone sees Alice contributing. So Alice is becoming part of this ecosystem. And then Bob wins the validation of Alice's transaction. So Bob is saying, I have permission from whom? From Alice to actually validate that she can be part and take part of in this ecosystem. Okay? And everyone sees and agrees that Bob is the validator. And there is the black box with the check. And in this case, it's blue. Okay, so that is the validation. But as you see here, everyone in the actual ecosystem sees exactly what Alice is doing and sees what she can contribute. And they also see that Bob is validating that Alice can be a part of this. Bob could be the originator to create the actual block. Does someone unmute? Do you have a question? Okay. Just a couple more slides and then I have another poll for you.
Hello. What
Yes.
that mean by Bob win the validate of the transaction?
I'm sorry again, Jessica?
From 2 to 3, how from step 2 to step 3, like Bob win the validation of Alice transaction. What that mean? Like he do awesome about it and he win?
Sometimes he may bid on what he can contribute or bid that he might have more on his ledger. Therefore, he has won the position of being the validator. But he has to also have permission from everyone in the ecosystem. That's
So how they show him that they permit him?
It's basically they unlock it and they lock it back. So it's giving that permission. So it's just as though I mentioned just a moment ago where you put in your information if you want to receive more information on a website or something of that nature, you're giving permission for them to get your information. And in this case, they're saying Bob may have more on his ledger. We know Bob. Bob maybe created this ecosystem or is a major contributor. So we're going to give him permission to validate Alice. So just as you articulated, he may have won the validation just based upon his contribution to that ecosystem.
Is this all happen by the algorithm in the mining computer?
Absolutely everything.
All right.
And that's when it becomes automated also. Because again, everyone knows what Bob has and everyone knows what each other has. So say for instance, if they're saying automatically, anyone who reaches 23,000 customers should be the validator because they have expertise in inbound marketing and know how to actually generate the best leads. So that person should be the validator for anyone to come into our group. Any other questions? Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Great contribution. So what do you know? I think you all know a lot here. So each node, each one of those ledgers has a node. There's a blocking point where they all come together. It's called a node as a ledger. So everyone in the network has a copy of the blockchain. The data is the transaction, the validation. Everyone knows the network. And also they can refuse, as I shared with you earlier, refuse the transaction. Okay? And there's also that resistance and resilience. So again, the resistance could be, I don't accept it, I'm opting out. The resilience is that the network participants can actually say, we know for sure that this is valid and that it is a transaction that we can accept and has been validated. Okay. So this is just another example, yet another example of what is considered a key. So the key is the permission. Okay. So let's go into a poll. You can scan the QR code here. Please do use your Mentimeter. It's the same passcode. And the question is, why is blockchain important? I'd like to hear from you about why you think blockchain is important. Oh, I see. Actually, people did that one first, as opposed to what was blockchain. That's fine. So if there's anything else you'd like to add. So actually, let's do the other, which is, what is blockchain? Let's see if that one works. If you can find it, please let me know. And could you please mute whoever is not muted? Thank you. Can you see what is blockchain? There are two questions there. Let me know if you can't see it. One says that it's cryptocurrency, it's Bitcoin, it's suitable for every kind of data storage. It shouldn't be used as a solution to a problem. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just populate which response you have. The other side says that it's a network of participants, distribution ledger, database structure, and some distributive features such as transparency of trust. We have 67% that says that it is a network of participants, a distributive ledger, a database that is actually structured, and some distributive features of transparency. We have 33% that says that it's actually cryptocurrency and Bitcoin suitable for that kind of data storage and should be used, shouldn't be used as a solution to a problem. Well, the 67% is very strong out in front, and it really does focus on building up that network. It's not only the cryptocurrency, but yet that is a part of it. Blockchain is on the back end of cryptocurrency. It's part of the technology because what happens in blockchain is that it's layered. It's layered, it takes the internet, but then it's a layered process to actually make cryptocurrency. Just like a back end of a website or the back end of an app. Okay, So it really is that network of participants. So thank you for that. So why do we need cryptocurrency? I mean, excuse me, why do we need blockchain? And I really would like for us to unmute here. I'm going to stop sharing. And I really would like to hear from everyone about why they think it's important and why do we need blockchain. Anyone, you can write in the chat. I'll also respond to the question of how blockchain technology can improve developing countries' economies. So exactly, that's why we're talking about its importance, because it truly can build up an economy by identifying where the weak areas are within the economy, so you can build out your ecosystem, your partners and participants that you've identified that are a key part of that particular problem that you want to solve. So that's where we're starting today. We are going to present a problem, and you are to think about key individuals, key participants, and the information that you can gather to build your database to make the decision to create and develop a product or service. Okay, thank you. It is tempered, yes. Yes, they cannot be tampered because of the security. Exactly. And it is transparent. Excellent. Thank you all for contributing. I like to hear a lot more. This is interactive. I think it's important. We're looking at blockchain. It's an interactive technology, and this is an opportunity for us to engage as curious technologists in the interaction itself. So yes, I completely agree with everything that was stated. It's tamper proof. Okay, and it is very transparent. So as we think about blockchain and creating this unusual opportunity for business, we can also come together in new ways. We're creating new value, and that also can help the country's economy because you're building out new technologies. You're finding new ways where product and business, technology and innovation and business intersect. They come together as ways they never thought they could. I had the opportunity a few years ago to actually have a grant from the US Embassy as a Fulbright scholar. And I went to Morocco to actually work with professors, engineering professors, and entrepreneurs. The two had never come together before. And so it was an incredible week because we were actually no longer talking about theory, but actually talking about practice and application. And that was when the entrepreneurs were saying, thank goodness, finally, my professor from college or people that I know that are in the engineering space, that they don't understand the innovation of an entrepreneur. So the two intersected, and that's where they really began to see each other's value and to understand that by that understanding of empathy, putting themselves in each other's shoes, and then defining what a problem was or what they wanted to solve, actually took them to a spot of being innovative and finding not only value within themselves, but value to create new products, to optimize, their ecosystems, to know that they could, as entrepreneurs, actually go to the university and get student support or get professors to support them, or to continue just to build their business ecosystem, and also to reduce the risk. Because when you have more people, more brains in the room, then you have the opportunity of running those ideas by other individuals. That's part of the reiteration that we were going to talk about later today. okay? When we're gonna come together and actually work on a problem within our breakout rooms. So you can really see the process from beginning to end. All right. So this is the end of the first session. I promised you that we would take a break. It's a lot of information. And so here we're going to pause for a moment. Please, let's take 10 minutes. I'll play some nice music. You can get a sip of water or grab a snack, and I'll meet you back here at 11 in 10 minutes. So for me, it's 11:20. So let's give it about 10 minutes. All right. Thank you so much. Please do come back. And thank you all for your comments and participation. So we will go into our second session. And I'm glad that you had a moment to refresh. So looking at the second session, it is an opportunity for us really to think about the conceptualization, taking it from that empathy, defining and knowing that problem, into actually building out prototypes and identifying those blockchain solutions that are so critical. And that's why we're here. That deeper dive, as I shared with you in the introduction, of understanding how blockchain can be utilized in various applications. We will go over several of the use cases, as well as look at regulatory and governance within blockchain, some of the legal framework, very light touch on that, but it's an important part of blockchain and truly understanding that there are regulatory guidelines and policies that are being utilized across various industries where blockchain is used, and then develop our own critical thinking skills as well as problem solving. That's one of our takeaways today, key takeaways. So looking at the complexity, again, I just want to emphasize that it's simple. It's simple. Blockchain just simplifies everything. There's lots of moving parts, granted, but it allows for us as participants to own our own information, our own skill, our own transaction that we can provide, that knowledge, the currency that we can provide. Sometimes people mention that our knowledge is actual currency, and I believe it to be true. Is that you want to be able to know how to engage and look at that from a transparent perspective, increasing the possibilities, of course, as to how we can or how much we need to protect our information. That's why we have contracts. And we talked about that. That is why we actually review our checking accounts, our bank accounts. And now that we have applications that are on our phones that we can instantaneously be alerted when there is misuse or inappropriate entry into our ledger. Okay, so think about that. The simplest yet complex part of what we do on a daily basis is looking at our financial bank records, whether it be our credit score or whether it be how much money is coming in and going out of our account. All of these things are very important to knowing where and identifying error and fraud. Knowing exactly how much is on in your checking account or your savings account. When you are in the queue and you're stepping up to the cashier, you can be confident that your purchase will be approved. So that increases our awareness of whether or not there's error in our account. And also the validation factor. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, But when you walk up to a vendor or you're dining and the POS system swipes, you swipe your card on the POS system, or you put it into a POS system if you're in the supermarket, and they say access denied or declined. And you're thinking, what is going on? I know there's money there, or, is this a new card that hasn't been validated? So where is the error? You have that opportunity to understand the complexity, to know that your finances are not given permission to go further. Very, very important. Or if someone has actually misappropriated your funds within your account, that fraud factor of people utilizing our account numbers, doing the numbers until they hit a number. All of those are critical. And then looking at how the paper stops, it just ceases. It's an opportunity for us to actually utilize our network, utilize the other shareholders to validate our transactions, whether they be the bank or whether they be a vendor or someone you're doing business with or the school you're going to. Just a few examples there of the complexity. So here we're looking at blockchain as it actually reduces this complexity. It's a single network with shared tamper-proof, pretty much tamper-proof opportunity of leisure. Nothing is 100%, but it's so close to being tamper-proof that we can actually say that this is a trusted environment. All parties must be in one accord, in one consensus of a transaction and agree upon that. And then in addition to that, it eliminates paper. So it's environmentally friendly. It allows for us to react and interact on the World Wide Web or the internet. So here we are. We're going to take a poll. Let's take a poll here. And please write in the chat. What industries do you think blockchain can be used? What industries do you think blockchain can be used? What industries do you think?
Space.
Could you please put in the chat what you think so we can gather information? What industries do you think? Banking, finance, sure. Also called fintech. Yes, it's carved its own niche within blockchain and within the banking industry. Absolutely. Small and medium-sized enterprise, agriculture, industry, space, art, yes. Agriculture, yes, especially since we'll be focusing on that for our problem. For those of you who attended yesterday, it was amazing. We had an incredible researcher, Flora, from Nigeria, that spoke about the actual supply chain, the direct connection between the intersection, again, of blockchain technology and agriculture. Trading, healthcare, storing and sending data. Thank you. International trade, excellent, excellent. All of those are incredibly connected to industries that blockchain can be utilized. Trade and finance, absolutely, thank you. Supply chain, just the overall supply chain, correct, of every industry. Well said, well said. So we are truly focusing on this agriculture and looking at the technology from the standpoint of having the literacy, understanding how the finance in these transactions can actually happen. So blockchain can help enterprise across many different industries, all industries for that matter. And as you have so articulately stated, definitely within trade and import, export, and where countries could actually build their economy, not only with diamonds, which is one of the case studies here, but also with agriculture. It's an opportunity where countries that have very robust agricultural industries or markets can actually trade with other countries or other states, nation states, if you will, that have less agriculture or live in a climate where there does not lend for their agriculture to actually be robust and to meet the needs of their residents and their citizens. So here, I talked about an industry that is very numbing in many different ways, but yet very important to the ecosystem as far as an actual value of commodity that has been pillaged and mined, if you will, from many parts of the world, as indicated on the map here, but mostly on the continent of Africa and in Australia, as well as the country of Brazil. So here we're going to just take a little touch point of looking at the actual industry to see how it works in one industry. So the tracking of the diamonds and the mining actually is where blockchain has been a part of the system without it being called or identified as blockchain. Because we can actually say that through the smuggling, there was these networks that were actually developed. Through the fraud, that was the identification of whether or not someone could be a part of this ecosystem, could do the trading for them, and whether or not the actual product was counterfeit or an actual diamond, if you will. So this is a very clear example of how blockchain was utilized and the mechanisms of actually tracking the records. So to this day, each diamond has its own marker. It has its own identity. It has its own ledger, so to speak. And all of those ledgers are authenticated and validated, and they're maintained by the identification of the particular commodity, which is based upon the color, the cut, the clarity, and the carat, which is the weight. So that is where blockchain actually is a perfect example, not one that we want to embrace due to the economic impact that is had on many of these states and nations, if you will, and countries. But yet it's an opportunity to really see how blockchain has been a part of the system and how it interacts in the system. So creating a use case. So thinking about something that has really come to the forefront as of late is car ownership. You know, a lot of people really lease a car or they'll purchase a car, but because of the pandemic, this has been a true impact. And I've used this case study before. This was pre-pandemic, but now we have Carvana. Carvana actually has taken hold to the blockchain technology. They have said people don't need to come to our showrooms. We don't need to have salespeople. We just utilize our website and reach out to individuals using algorithms, people that are going online, looking for cars or selling their car, to actually generate inward marketing to say we can actually sell and purchase sell you a car on the internet. Complete blockchain, just locking it down from beginning to end. And knowing that those individuals never have to set room in an actual showroom, but they can actually purchase their car and it's delivered to their home. Carvana. So in looking at car ownership, I like to break it down to the leasing as well as the ownership, just so you can see how blockchain is utilized there. So if we're looking at car ownership, we're thinking about the actual manufacturer, whether it be Toyota or whether it be Ford, GM, or Mercedes-Benz. All of the manufacturers have an in-house ledger. They have an account of what cars, how many cars they have, and where the cars are. They utilize the VIN number that is on the actual engine. Then those cars go to the dealer. That ledger goes with the car. It does not separate from the car. No one else has it but the manufacturer and the dealer. You see how the ecosystem is building, right? Then we have a leasing company. The leasing company in this particular case, instead of someone actually purchasing the car outright, they're going to lease the car because they want to have a different payment structure and they want to be able to trade the car in 4 to 5 years. So they lease it. That same ledger, those markers for that car, the VIN number, the model, the make, the size, the length, and all of those attributes, all of those indicators continue to go along with the car. Then we have the leasee, who are you and I, someone who is going to lease the car. I actually receive all the information about the vehicle, whether it's been in an accident, the size of the engine, the type of interior it has, the mileage, the make and the model, when it was created, when it came off of the showroom floor from the manufacturer. All of that information continues to be on that ledger that comes to me as the leasee. And then I have leased the car has been utilized, I turn it back in or I scrap it, and then that ledger ceased to exist, but it goes along with the car. Meanwhile, there is a regulator. There is someone that is going to make sure that that car has the right credentials. Its ledger continues to go with it. And how is that regulated? It's regulated through the taxes that you pay on the car. It's regulated through the license plate that is on the vehicle. It's regulated based upon whether or not it is smogged. In the United States and in California in particular, we go through smog checks to make sure that there's not too many emissions going out into the atmosphere. So all of those are regulators within the governmental system. And that ledger is what goes along to be approved by the regulators. So here's an example of ownership with blockchain, just to make it solid and bring it home. Each one of these steps has a node. I mentioned this before, that actually speaks to the ledger. The ledger and the node are locked in together. They are its own block. This is your blockchain. Then you're connecting, because the regulator and the manufacturer are a part of this. Remember the ecosystem we just built out? Goes directly to the dealer. Again, all of the information from that ledger is provided to the dealer. Meanwhile, we have all these contracts that are going on, stating that yes, the condition of the car is what it is. The leasing company is saying, yes, this car is this age, it has this many miles, it's this make and model. So you want to sign an agreement that says, I am going to agree that this car is what it says it is. Okay? Then it comes to the leasee, and the leasee has to check all the records. They have to assess whether or not this actually can be transferred to them and whether or not these are legal and regulated ledgers that truly validate what the car says that it is. So the VIN number, the license plate number, sometimes the license plate numbers are changed, but that VIN number is embedded in the body of the engine as well as on the dashboard. So that is its lock and key to the actual vehicle. And then either it's scrapped or it goes to the merchant, back to the merchant. But at all points, everyone knows the ledger for that particular vehicle. And so if you compare the two, the leasing structure of ownership transfer and the actual blockchain, you can see whereby you are building out an ecosystem. It looks very one step after another, but yet it truly is an ecosystem in which everyone is aware, is transparent, and it speaks to the actual product or service that, or problem that is being discussed. Okay, one other example I wanted to share with you was aviation. Now, this is a really fun story too. I have a little backstory on this as well, that I was doing research about 4 years ago on blockchain, and I actually reached out to someone that was in the Netherlands. And he actually referred me to someone that was in Zurich. And I ended up meeting this person when I went to Zurich to a conference. So all of that to say, it was phenomenal. So I have to add that value here because I got to see in real time how he was utilizing blockchain in aviation to allow for individuals to actually invest and to use the planes that were, and mainly focus on the maintenance of those said planes, airplanes, and carriers that individuals would take their flights on, and also the pilots. So it was a very integral, very dynamic opportunity for blockchain to really step up and to be in a trusted environment where technology and legal aspects, as well as self-sovereignty of identity, laid out the layers of blockchain. Again, I had mentioned to you that they're layers and they're embedded on the use of the internet. So when you have the legal ramifications have to be validated. The challenges may be made because you want to make sure that everyone is safe, that the planes, in this particular case, that the planes have been addressed, all of their maintenance has been cared for, and that all of the stakeholders, or the people that are flying the plane and actually the attendees, the people that are flying, the pilots, excuse me, as well as the individuals, are all cared for. So this was a really key aspect of technology that was very, very interesting for me as well. So it reduced the handling and the mishandling of information. It reduced human error, although humans do still play an integral part of this. But because of the repetition of numbers and calculations, you're actually able to utilize technology to support that. And we're almost through with our session for today, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to actually begin to somewhat walk through what we're going to do for the hackathon. So, and it's very, very important that I share with you exactly what the problem is for the hackathon and give you the background. So thank you for staying on. Identify the problem. I wanted to give you a chance to identify a problem that you could actually solve. But instead, what I'm going to do is go right into the hackathon. And I want for you to take these questions and to utilize them as you begin to build out your system of your, build out your and identifying how you are going to approach the problem. So number one, our problem is actually food security. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. So we're going to focus on food security. It impacts the entire world, and it also impacts multiple layers, if not all layers of the economy. What's so interesting is that the United States actually has a double-digit food insecurity, meaning that we have food deserts, we have places, neighborhoods, and communities where there are no grocery stores. There's no access to fresh, nutriented foods that have a good, healthy diet. Food insecurity is experienced all over the world, globally. People are experiencing food insecurity more often because of poor nutrients in diet, as I mentioned, which may be contributed to the development of heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, chronic illness, and obesity. People who actually live in food insecure households also have difficulty in managing their diet related chronic conditions and actually lack the knowledge for personal finance management. It's not always that they're poor. You see many commercials that people want to give to the poor because they're malnourished. But yet it's a sense that you don't know how to buy the food, or you don't have access to the food. And that's what we want to solve. So food insecurity often is not always the case linked to poverty. My hypothesis is that it is linked to the knowledge of of financial literacy, knowing their agricultural markets and economies. Access to quality, nutritious food is fundamental to human existence. Secure the access of food and to produce a healthy, well-rounded environment. So what you want to do is think about the actual problem and how it actually impacts the particular persona, or also called the market that you are focusing on. Why do you want to solve it? That's looking at the empathy side. And how do you want to involve others to engage in the solution? So that's looking at the partnership and the stakeholders. So instead of doing this as an exercise, I want you to keep in mind, what those questions, so you can go directly into the hackathon. So let me just wrap up what you've learned today, and then I will give you the problem in its entirety. In our first session, we talked about the fundamentals. We explored the blockchain applications. I introduced to you to an actual case and how to begin to think about the applications. We had a design application where we actually applied blockchain, several examples that I gave you in the financial market as well as our personal market. And then in our second session, we actually dove in deeper to make that connection between blockchain and looking at various challenges, which were spoken to in the various case studies. And we also validated blockchain, okay? So here, I would like to show you the hub. We are providing all the teams that are registered a hub, access to a hub. And it was sent out in your confirmation email, but just in case, I wanted to share with you. Looks like, is there a question? Anyone in the chat want to unmute and ask a question? Jessica, did you have a question? I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to show you the hub and how you can actually log on to the hub. And in the hub, we have the code of conduct, the actual agenda, the timeline. There is a pitch deck, which is how you can build out your solution onto the pitch deck to actually present to the judges on Sunday. And then we have all the mentor contacts and their details, as well as the resource library of terms and the UN SDGs and the definitions. So you can utilize some of those as a guidepost for the development of your actual solution. So I'd like to share with you the actual hub so you can see what it's like. This is what sets Fifth Wave apart. This resource hub, I've never been, quite honestly, never been to a hackathon where there was a resource hub. So it's very exciting to be able to do that. Let me see. Sorry, this is moving around slowly. Okay, let me share my screen. So this is the resource hub. So feel free to go in, and you were provided the Notion link. Actually, I will send it to you again. I'll put it in the chat. And you want to utilize this because everything that we covered, as I mentioned in that list of contents, are here. So you just click on it and there's information. Please do post your team information there so we can help you. We have our mentors are also listed here with their LinkedIn and their available time. So this is definitely a resource that you want to utilize. Okay. So let me share that with you. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We have Next2Gen, we have Fifth Wave, and we have MindSource. Thank you to the sponsors. We also have the Code of Conduct and also our resource library that has a plethora of examples and videos, podcasts that you can actually watch to help you with the development of your idea. And then also utilize the mentors. Those are a resource that are available to you, okay? So let me put in the chat this very quickly. And then, oh, this is the regulatory and the governance to just think about the tokens, the cybersecurity. I mentioned it actually in passing when I was describing some of the items and the features, excuse me, of blockchain. Okay, so I just want to thank you. This is the actual code for tomorrow. Okay, so you link onto Zoom and you can go into the meeting room. It's the same meeting room as today. And the code, the passcode is hack for you with no space, exclamation mark, hack for you. Okay, yes, I will share. I'll share the Notions link now. And then for tomorrow, the code is hack for you. Okay? I'll send it out also in the email, but it's in the same meeting room. Are there any other questions? I haven't received any email related to the resource hub. Oh, okay. It should have come, it should be in your confirmation, but I will include it today with the actual credentials for tomorrow. Thank you for your comment. Anything else? So please do show up tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. PST time. It's going to be nice and early for us here in California. Many other parts of the world, India will be afternoon. Germany, it will also be, or evening actually in India, afternoon in Germany and West Africa and South Africa. So please do come ready to ask questions. I'll make sure that you have the team. I am not doing this alone. I have to actually say thank you to the team that has been working tirelessly on this hackathon. They really have come together to make this an incredible user experience. So thank you to Roya, Christiana, Krishna, Adam, Camille, and everyone who has contributed. Actually, even Christine, if I would have known today, I had to confirm and make sure that the hub was working, excuse me, the links were working for our Zoom. So thank you to the team because it is about building an ecosystem. Let's see. Oh, okay. All right. So tomorrow is the actual hackathon. It is running 24 hours, and then your pitch is on Sunday morning, based upon your timeline. So if you go back to the registration form, all of the times are indicated. If you're in India, we'll be starting at, I believe, 4 p.m. All the times are there, which is 6 a.m. our time in the US, in California. And each country has about an hour. So India has an hour too, but please do come at the beginning of the hour. We have judges and investors that'll be online. So they are giving up their time to actually contribute and give you comments. Oh, also I want to mention in the hub, I did mention that it is a pitch, correct? So there are templates and instructions in the actual hub. So you can utilize those templates or you can bring your own template, but just make sure that it's comprehensive. And again, it's about solving the problem of food scarcity because it is a global issue, but we can work locally on solving those problems. So with no further ado, 6 a.m. is what time? It just depends upon where you are, Jessica. You would have to convert the time. I put in the link in the email that I sent out, a time converter URL. You're welcome to utilize that or just type in Google, 6 a.m. PST, okay? And I also put in on the Eventbrite, there's also a time converter chart with all of the times converted for start, okay? Oh, the total event. You have the entire day to work on your solution. So hence the 24 plus 4 hours on Sunday. You have the entire day on Saturday to work on your solution and to build out. So that includes identifying all of the information, building out your data set, the information that you need to make those suggestions about the solutions that you want to bring, and to put that all into a formatted presentation that you can present on Sunday. So you have all day. So if it takes you 4 hours, you got it done. If it takes you 8 hours, then you have those 8 hours. If it takes you 12 hours and you need breaks in between, you have that opportunity. So again, it's an all-day experience. We will have the portals open. We are on WhatsApp. We have individual Google rooms. So all of the mentors have Google rooms. All you have to do is ping them and they will meet you in the room. We're also, as I mentioned, I'll have the Zoom open. So we'll have a lounge time on Zoom as well. Great, great. I'm glad. I'm glad everyone is welcome. So thank you again for being a part of the boot camp. This is fantastic, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow at the beginning of the day, the afternoon, and the evening for others, so we can kick this off and we can actually get to hacking so we can make change in the world. Thank you so much, everyone. If there are
Uh,
any other questions for people
I
that
had
like to
a
stay on,
I had a question.
yes, please.
When are teams assigned?
If you, would you like to be on a team or would you like to be an individual contributor?
Oh, so it's like an either or. So you
Well, because of COVID, and there was an outbreak in South Africa, and actually India has many concerns. I know we have a few teams in India already that are submitted, that are together. Either they're in the same university, so they're okay, they're working electronically. If you'd like to work with someone, we can see who else is looking to team up, or if you'd like to work as an individual, you're welcome to. So is there anyone in the chat? If you could please put in the chat if you'd like to be on a team. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Some people who signed up had teams already established. Great. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. For those of you who would like to be on a team, just stay back and I'll release everyone else. We have a few people that would like to be teamed up. That's awesome. That's fantastic. So we will team you up and we can get started. And if you have any further questions, I can also answer them as well. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all in the morning, afternoon, and evening on Saturday. Thank you. Feel free to send any emails if you have any questions or concerns. Have a good day.